To this story now, 4 people have died on the job at Kusasalethu Mine in Gauteng's Carletonville area. They were doing engineering maintenance on a water dam pipe. For more on what happened, I'm joined by AMCU's Union President, Joseph Mathunjwa. Thank you so much for your time this evening, sir. Maybe just give us some context as to when this tragic incident occurred and whether it could have been prevented.
Good evening to you and to your viewers. As AMCU, we'd like to send our sincere condolences to the family who lost their breadwinners when they were toiling for their livelihood in these mines. Yes, indeed, we were informed that the 5 mine workers were trapped underground as they were conducting a maintenance processes. Unfortunately, there was a rush mud that apparently took place underground. As a result, 4 mine workers, breadwinners, were lost their life, and then 1 survived who is been admitted in hospital. So the sketchy is still sketchy for now to know exactly what has happened. But however, we believe that once the inquiry is ensued, we'll be able to determine and to detect what really went wrong. Because really these mines are very deep in such a way that some of them, they are very old, and the manner in which were mined previously, it's not really in a modern way in terms of technology. But we will leave to the experts that will be conducting the investigation, the inquiry in terms of Mine Health and Safety Act, and also us, we will be part of it. But moreover, you know, when we demand a living wage on behalf of the workers, we are being misinterpreted or being labeled as arrogant union who are not sensitive to the economy of the country, who only put the interests of the workers first, which is correct, is what we are doing. But if you look at the conditions that these workers are subjected to, I mean, it's very dangerous. But for now, we'll say at least harmony, when we were engaging with them on wage negotiations, they were able to give the increase that we demanded from them. How much more for those that they make huge billions of profits, but they cannot pay their workers even 1,000 rand.
Just touching on that, I mean, as you've correctly stated, that investigations are still going to be conducted in terms of the deaths of these workers. Just as you speak about just how dangerous this job is and what we're seeing unfolding at Sibanye Stillwater, I mean, what does the future hold in terms of wage negotiations between unions and mine employees? Because it seems as though the issue at Sibanye at this point remains unresolved.
I think it is evident to everyone in South Africa that the white monopoly capital is committing economic crime against humanity. How can one person earn 300 million and failing just to increase the wage bill about, let's say, 360 million per annum, which will only ask 1,000 rand per month, of which he himself, Neil Froneman, is earning 1,500 a minute? It shows clearly that they do not respect the lives of the mine workers who are toiling for them to receive these monies that they are receiving. And furthermore, one can say without fear of any contradiction that the bargaining system or processes has failed, is no longer holding. It does not address the real needs of the poor, of the poorest workers in South Africa. And furthermore, we call for the government to regulate the mining industry. You remember in 2012, workers were killed when they were demanding 12,500, of which that was a self-regulated amount, minimum wage by the workers. Why the government is able to regulate other sectors like farming, domestic workers, but he cannot regulate mining, of which is more important because mining is the resources which belongs to the people.
Mr. Mathunjwa, maybe if you can speak to me about government's role when it comes to these negotiations. Are they failing in terms of trying to play a part and a role in mediation?
I think one would say the government, I think their hands are tied at their back because the government is an employer on its own. The interests are very different. I don't think that because, I mean, one should also recall that our government most listen to the foreign direct investors. So if they put their nose in too much, they will say they are interfering. Hence, we are saying the government should have regulated these mines. I think these meetings that are being facilitated by DMRE Minister, Mr. Gwede Mantashe, is just to facilitate, to bring parties together. But at the end of the day, I don't think he can command or demand that Sibanye increases. It's only workers who are going to liberate themselves in this manner. But I don't doubt his influence at the end of the day because he is the one who's giving them licenses. But at the end of the day, the better way to avoid this strike, let the government regulate the mining industry, make it at least at 12,500. What prevents them? If they can regulate for the farming, if they can regulate for the domestic, why they are not regulating the mining industry?
I mean, it does, of course, bring into question who does it benefit, I think, then, Mr. Mathunjwa, not to regulate the mining industry.
It does. It does benefit the foreign direct investors. And it does, benefit the CEOs. We even call for the capping of the CEO salaries. So I think the government does have the power if they are willing. There is no political will. Minerals does not belong to the government. Government is a custodian on behalf of its people, this mineral. So the government can regulate. The government can put a capping on the salaries of these CEOs. What are they doing? Let's just look at Sibanye. They only about 11 executives, which they've got about 800 million, close to $1 billion. And then workers, they only ask for 360 million per annum, which will serve about 31,000 workers. You could see that this is what I call it is an economic crime against humanity.
And of course, Mr. Mathunjwa, we saw what unfolded at the May Day rally in the Northwest with the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa being stopped from addressing it. Clearly, workers, and in particular mine workers, have really lost faith in the ruling party.
I won't say only workers, mine workers. I think all the alliance who are affiliated to COSATU is not to say at that rally was only mine workers. We had your NEHAU, we had your Municipal Workers Union. So those are the strong alliances, partners, in this arrangement. So they feel also being betrayed, thrown under the bus, whereby their agreement was never, allowed to run its course, where they were only paid for 2 years. And the third year, the government invited the judiciary to set aside the agreement. So you could see clearly that really, indeed, the workers in all the sectors, they kind of saying this government is not serving us, it's serving the interest of the white monopoly capital at the end of the day.
Just lastly, Mr. Mathunjwa, it's quite a difficult, quite a negative picture that you're painting in terms of the plight of the workers. What now then needs to happen moving forward?
I think one, as we just said, in terms of safety, we've been making a clarion call to amend Mine Health and Safety Act for these employers to take full responsibility and there be a prosecution, because most of these incidents or accidents are repeatable accidents. Secondly, it is high time for us as a class, as a working class, to join hands together and focus to the real issues that are affecting our members. And actually, I mean, not based on your affiliation, it should be the cause of the class that we entered into. I think that's the way to go, because you could see clearly the government is threatening to dismiss more workers in the public sector. Where will those people go? The economy is not growing. Unemployment is ravaging, is running around about what, 37%? How many young graduates are sitting at home that they've got no future, use their pension, their pensions of their parents, of which they cannot go to work and repay it. So I think we are in a very serious crisis in this country. The crime is high. Everything is not holding. So therefore, I think it's up to us as the people of South Africa. How do we want a future? How do you want to see a future South Africa to look like at the end of the day? Because you see clearly that everything is falling apart in this country. And I even said many times in my interview to say, maybe, not maybe, we should amend this constitution that will address some of the ills that we see in the society. Also, we have to look at how we amend the electoral system in this country, whereby maybe we go for the democratic socialism and then emphasize on it, because this current constitutional democracy is not coming from heaven, is not a divine document, is not made by angels from heaven, is made by men, and for the sole purpose of their end desired outcome. So therefore, for 28 years, it's clear that this constitution does not serve the interest of us, in particular, we black majority who are downtrodden by the previous system.
You know, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about those who are left behind, Mr. Mathunjwa. What happens to the families of these mine workers? And I mean, we saw what happened at Lily Mine.
Indeed, in the previous fatal and memorial services, we spoke to Mr. Patrice Mtsipe that there should be a trust, education trust that is open for all the dependents that are left behind. That was one. Secondly, all the widows of the mine workers who lost their life during during their employment due to this incident, their widows must be paid the full salary until pensionable age. So there shouldn't be any young men, young women who leave school in order to join the mine to make their family, to work to support their family. Rather, pay the full salary, full benefit to the widow to look after the children, not the widow to leave the homeland and come and work at the mines, as we've been pleading with Sibanye to do the same to the widows of the Marikana massacre. These are the demands that we keep on asking these companies to do, but it still go to the deaf ears.
Seems we still have a long way to go when it comes to the mining sector. Thank you so much for your time this evening. That is AMCU President Mr. Joseph Mathunjwa this evening. Now, still to come